That wasn't the best micromanagement, I felt. The Scourge just sort of overshot the Corsairs a little bit, and I think missed out on some kills, and you've really got to get there in the nick of time if you want to actually kill the Corsairs, because their damage, once it's stacked up, just almost instantly destroys the Scourges. Now again, Dark Templar's moving out of the base. There's a very, very Dark Templar Corsair oriented strategy here with Protoss really just sticking to his base and hoping to move things out. Queen flies past. Interesting strategy there. You don't see that too much, but Queens sort of show up in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup more than anything else. That Dark Templar still being annoying. And we've got a second Dark Templar moving into the Zerg main, moving past the Spore Colony. Oh my god, he's actually moved past the Spore Colony and there's no detection at the Zerg main. Dark Templar moves right through. The Dark Templar at the 6 o'clock position has been killed. The Corsairs escape safe from the Scourges, but oh my god, looks like Queen ability being upgraded. I think it's Ensnare, but Overlord's desperately moving into the base. He's having to move all of the drones out, and that single Dark Templar being an extreme pain in the ass, just really threatening the entire Zerg main base with just a single one. I'm surprised that he hasn't upgraded Overlord speed. Instead, he's opted for a hair. And oh my god, he's actually destroyed the Spire. This is really not looking good for our Zerg friend here. And he's brought the drones back. Drones are getting destroyed by the Dark Templar. And I'm not really sure if you saw that, but he was actually attacking the Dark Templar with his own drones. That's how desperate he was. Didn't even bring any Zerglings. Eventually, the Dark Templar was destroyed, but an extreme amount of damage being done by that Dark Templar. It was just really set him back, and now he's actually going to have to rebuild that Spire. He had gone for a hive, and it looked like he was going to go for some kind of tech there, possibly a greater Spire, or maybe Ultralisks, maybe Defilers, who knows what, but we're going to have to wait in order to see what he was really going for, because the Spire is now going to have to be rebuilt, and the Queen just ominously flying around. Ensnare, I'm not sure if you saw that, Ensnare was researched, and it wasn't cancelled. The Dark Templar didn't take out the Queen's nest. So we have Ensnare. Interesting to note that Ensnare, when cast on Dark Templars, I believe this is correct. You'll have to sort of remind me on the forums if I'm wrong about this, but I believe it actually reveals the Dark Templars. I don't see it happen too much because Queen's just not used very frequently. But that's what's happened. And he's just shot something at the Archon there, and yeah, Parasite detected on the Archon, so the Zerg now has shared vision on the Archon, so well, despite that, he's not really doing, this is not very good micromanagement by the Zerg player. He's moved his Mutalisk force next to Archon. He's got hit anyway, even though he had parasited it, and now Corsair's giving chase. Those Mutalisks in real trouble. A Spore Colony is there to cover him, but just one Spore Colony just doesn't do damage very quickly. Ensnare being cast on the Corsairs, but the Corsairs returning fire on the Queen and taking it out. We've got a fight breaking out. The Zealots attacking the 12 o'clock position, but I'm not going to get too excited about that because there's only 3 of them, and it looks like that was pretty much a failed attempt there. Finally, the Spire is being rebuilt, so we might see some more air units, and a double evolution chamber going down, so could be changing strategies here. It remains to be said that I think Hydralisks... Oh, he's cancelled the evolution chamber, so I'll just cancel that thought there. Zerg is just going to stick with his plan of going air and ground support with maybe a few Zerglings, and we'll see how that plays out for him. Greater Spire now, so that's the point of his hive. Really wants to get to some Guardians or some Devourers, and really trying to take back the air advantage that he was originally going to invest in. And Fleet Beacon going down for Protoss players, so not often you see this, but he could be going for carriers, he could be going for Disruption Web. We'll find out what's going on shortly, but an interesting investment there by G5, the Protoss player, in a Fleet Beacon, and Mutalisks attacking the bottom right expansion here. There's no defense except for some Psionic Storm. The Scourge is trying to take out the Corsairs before they arrive to show up like the cavalry, and Mutalisks making an exit before they get ravaged by that huge force of Corsairs. It has to be said that Corsairs have reached a critical mass. We've got 3 Stargates. It's 3 Stargates from Protoss player, and real critical mass here by Corsairs. They are not going to be easy to take out. Scourges appear, instantly destroyed. It's just too much damage, and the splash damage from Corsairs once they're in that kind of numbers are just eradicating the Overlords. So I've got to feel that our Zerg friend here is actually in a lot of trouble, just not being able to build Overlords. His supply is capped. He's just got to keep building Overlords. They keep getting destroyed as they come back. He's only got a few Mutalisks that Queen desperately running away. The only thing I can say in favour of the Zerg player at this point is that he's got 4 bases, and they're all being heavily mined, so he's got the resources to change strategy. He's got the resources to attacking the gateway. Oh my god, Protoss base under attack by a gateway, gotta destroy it. But seriously, it's just kind of annoying when you go for a natural expansion. Oh my god, he's building scouts. That was unexpected. Just sort of stop my thought there and have a talk about this. The Scout, for anybody who plays StarCraft regularly, is probably one of the least used units in StarCraft, and it's always very interesting when a player in a serious game, I mean, this is a serious game, it's the TSL, it's a new Star League, these guys aren't really fooling around, I mean, they are trying to win, and one of them is building probably the rarest unit ever seen in StarCraft. The Scout is comparable to the Wraith, but it doesn't have invisibility, so it's pretty pitiful against ground-to-air attackers like the Hydralisks and Spore Colonies, obviously, and it's not extremely useful against other air units because it doesn't have splash damage, and you usually want to go for the Corsairs, but he is opting to build Scouts, and I think one thing that is important to say is this. Protoss player has got a huge number of Corsairs. He's able to take out pretty much any other Zerg air unit that crops up, but he's not able to shoot at the ground units with Corsairs. So if he supplements them with Scouts, I think the reasoning is that he will be able to gain air dominance and capitalize on that by actually including with Scouts. So we'll come back to that in a sec. We've got an attack going on. Zealots attacking the main Zerg base, but it's heavily defended by sunken colonies. We've got Devourers having been morphed, and a huge amount of acid being just spat onto those Corsairs. And just to remind people, acid spores slow down enemy flyers, and they also reduce armor. So and Ultralisks being produced, so those Zealots being greeted with a warm welcome as the Ultralisks are being formed. Now, just back to this commentary about the Scouts, because it's a very unusual situation to see in any game. We've got a group of Corsairs which are alive, and we've got a group of Scouts, and the Mutalisks have morphed into Devourers. Now, Devourers have much more hit points than Mutalisks, and that means the Corsairs are not going to be as effective against them with splash damage, but Corsairs do 5 damage, base damage against air before being upgraded and before splash damage, but Scouts do an extreme amount of damage against air units even though they don't have splash damage. So Scouts doing roughly 28 damage against air is actually a helpful unit to have with Corsairs when fighting against Devourers. So we'll see how that turns out. This actually might not be a silly strategy, even though it looks it just from the fact that you don't often see that. Back to the game. Ultralisks. We've got a huge army of them ponderously moving down south, ready to actually attack that bottom right expansion. Overlords unluckily being caught mid-route to the safety of defenses, and Ultralisks swarming in to attack that bottom right base, and it looks like it's going down. Dark Templars en route, and this game is actually starting to get very, very interesting tactically, because we've got the Zerg army with a really powerful force of Ultralisks, but they're not going to be able to do anything against the Dark Templars. And Scouts now, finally, we're actually going to see them being used, and as you can see, they absolutely wipe the floor with those Devourers. So it actually looks like those Scouts are going to be useful in this game, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because Scouts are usually such an unuseful unit, and people are probably screaming at me to make some comment about the fact that the Zerg players need Hydralisks in this sort of situation, and this particular Zerg player has not got any Hydralisks. So we'll talk about that later. There's a lot of action going on. I think we had an attack at the mid-ground Protoss expansion, and it was repelled, and the Ultralisks haven't been speed upgraded, having to run away now. Protoss has taken the top left expansion, Zerg taken the natural middle only expansion here, and An extremely powerful force of Ultralisks is rendered almost useless here, except in the capacity that can actually attack Zerg expansions, and the force is doing extremely well at that, but it's only taken G5, the Protoss player, a few Dark Templars to really defend himself against these Ultralisks. So a really interesting strategy here. He doesn't need to build up a big force of Dragoons and Zealots because he's got the Dark Templars and the